All right, as Lindsay said, why can't any of you make me a sandwich? Judging the newbies on Summer House, do we like them? Okay, so Summer House season 8. Some would say that lo and behold, even though Vanderpump Rules is the show that gets all the love and attention, that Summer House is actually maybe the better show in general. Well, teach their own, but this season, I feel like when you watch Vanderpump Rules, it's, exciting because there is a polarizing story, but Summer House is always new and fresh and gives newness, and that's one thing they do really well is cast a wonderful group of newbies. Now, me personally, I've always said that Paige DeSorbo was not interesting. But I only mention that because she was a newbie at one point that you wouldn't even kind of not remember that. Like you'd almost think she was one of the original cast members. She was not. Carl was, Kyle was, the wonderful Lindsay was, and Lindsay makes her mistakes. And essentially, Vanderpump Rules kind of spun off this show, as we remember from Stassi in the pilot, in the hot tub with Kyle. Anyways, I always talk about that because I do love the show and I've watched it since season 1. So whether you like Vanderpump or you like Summer House or you like Southern Charm, like there's all these wonderful shows. But what I want to do real quickly, because I talk about Summer House quite a bit, and I want to talk about Summer House Martha's Vineyard coming back for season 2, Lindsay, the ups and downs, the roller coaster that is make me a sandwich, Hub House. Oh my gosh. But let's just do a really quick, what do we think of the newbies? But before we do that, I did not realize, and it maybe in some capacity, because I feel like even if you're not going and you're not cast in the season, one thing what's good about Summer House is I feel like everyone is always involved. When the parties happen, everybody's there. And you may not be a cast member, but you're still part of the Summer House family, which is one of the fun things about this show. Some of the newbies, the Workus sisters, Steven, some of the early people, when they left, they left. But the newer people from the last couple of years, I mean, it felt like Luke was around for a very long time. They always come back. And Summer House kind of has that vibe. So we'll do what we think about the newbies in 1 second. But yeah, I didn't realize, I say all that to say, I didn't realize Maya wasn't back because Maya, I believe, or in a capacity of full time. Maya, I believe, has a show, a podcast with Sierra. Now, I really, 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 really like Maya. And Sierra and Paige, they just don't jump off the page for me. So, anyways, that's, I would assume because Sierra and Maya have a podcast that maybe that could have kept them together. But you know what? Hannah left, and then Hannah did her own thing and succeeded in major ways. Hannah wasn't my favorite cast member, but she did succeed in major, major, major ways. And Paige is able to do the show and do the podcast with Hannah, but not like both on the same series, but on the same podcast. So maybe Maya doing her own thing is not necessarily a bad thing for Maya. But I just would have assumed because they were doing the show together, Maya and Sierra, that maybe that would kind of give in the door for Maya to stay on the show. So I'm a little like disappointed that we don't get to see more Maya. Again, we're getting to the newbies. I know I'm jumping all around. I love that Gabby Prescott came back. I love Gabby, the princess that she is. And she also makes tons of sense for the show this year because she really is one of the major people who does sort of talk and really have a good friendship with like Lindsay and Carl, specifically Lindsay. So you kind of need that. You need somebody who can have fun like Gabby can with the whole group, but then the Lindsay Carl thing, as we're watching the show, and we of course know what the fallout was with the broken engagement, which was after the series had filmed. You need that person in the middle, and Gabby is just so lovely. I'm glad that they did, keep her from newbie to a second season. Chris Leone did not come back. Why? Can somebody tell me Chris Leone, his friend that was the model, why did they not come back? I don't understand. Was Chris Leone, does he have more things going on in his life that he doesn't need to do the show? I don't know. Am I the only one who thought Chris Leone had something worthy of a season 2? And I always said he should have shot his shot with the amazing Danielle. Anyways, I am really jumping all over the place. I know you're just like, get to it. What do we think of Jesse and West? So my initial thought of West was like, sometimes it's that no worries, man. Like it didn't feel It felt like his first filming, if that was the first time he was on camera, getting in, they were coming from New York City. He was traveling with Kyle and Amanda, and I felt like he really put on a cool that didn't really feel like, huh, I'm not really gonna enjoy him all the way. Yeah, man, like no worries. Uh, and then as the show is going, this is still early on in the season 8, West is really becoming kind of fun. And I think the fun is way better than the no worries. Like, I'm chill. Like, yeah, let's ride. Like that, I was like, I don't know. We know that guy. Mm. But the West, that's like, specifically when he sees Jesse, who's a lot taller, he's like, how am I supposed to compete with that? Like that charming West is really fun to watch. And what I think is really interesting about West, I just told you that like Paige, Sierra, very much lackluster in terms of when I watch the show. Danielle's, the queen of the show, as is Lindsay, as is Amanda. But I always say Paige and Sierra, and they're sleeping, and we're sleeping watching, but whatever, they're making their money, they're on the show, they're happy. But I gotta tell you, this is exciting for me as a viewer who's never really seen too much excitement out of Sierra. First of all, we're getting the modeling scenes. This is exciting. We kind of knew she was in the medical profession / model, coming from Georgia into New York City. I feel like there was all of that story that could have been told more, and we're finally getting it. But that's not what I'm talking about. West, in a very cute way, showing interest to Sierra. Sierra, in a very cute way, showing interest in West. And this charming relationship, is it going to happen? Is it not going to happen? And even if it does, wonderful. Even if it doesn't, wonderful. It doesn't matter. I always tell you, when people love like a romantic comedy, and I do. I love a romantic comedy, but I love flirty energy more than anything. And they, right now, in the early part of season 8 on Summer House, they're giving a lot of really fun, flirty energy. And it makes me happy to see Sierra, because Sierra has just, okay, let's go with the dating routes of Sierra on this show. Austin didn't work. I don't think she should have felt embarrassed, because Austin is like, what do they call them? The Honda Civic of cars. No diss to the Honda Civic drivers, but they were kind of saying Austin isn't really anything to, cry over. But Austin didn't really work for her. Luke didn't really work for her. I mean, there's a handful of men that she's kind of tried to be involved with, and nothing really happened. And I kind of hope it will be West. West feels fun. Like, I feel like this could be the one. Only on the basis of every time you've seen Sierra date on this show, it has been super uninteresting to watch. But this time I'm like, Sierra, there you are. So she's had many seasons. This is about her 4th or 5th season. So hopefully we get a little bit more. And for me, I was on the fence. Do I like West? Is he a wonderful newbie? Is he a good fit? And I feel like there's things that are starting to materialize that make me say, okay, fine, West, let's ride. Oh, and even more, he has, even in his introduction, he's like, yeah, my mother is a gynecologist, and my father is like, was it a bull rider or something like that? It was just these different worlds, and I feel like that's what we're starting to get, is like this variety. And you like variety. You like people to have all these stories and different walks of life, and different influences or whatever. So I don't know. I'm more open than my first judgment with yeah, man, no worries. Like, let's ride. Like, yeah. He really felt like, if you could remember, if you watch Summer House, like we watch Summer House, we don't miss an episode. Remember when we got tired of that one season when Carl was like, yeah, more life. Yeah, like, I'm Carl, I'm tall, like, and I'm in my white pants, and more life. Yeah, dude, like, more life. Who am I imitating? What is wrong with me? That is the real question. I'm kidding. Okay, so moving on. Jesse Solomon, who's got that smile. Now, I feel like I loved the charming energy that was Jesse coming from Chicago. We didn't get a whole lot of information, and we basically got a little bit of arrogance, but sometimes I feel like confidence and playful arrogance is okay. am I being kind because that wonderful smile? And I'm like, oh, go ahead, Jesse. But he seems to have fun. I think there is a difference with like really wonderful confidence and really on the fence arrogant. But being arrogant is necessarily not the greatest thing. But I think it's not horrible when you're just having fun with the experience, where arrogance, because arrogance always gets judged. But to me, where arrogance is a problem is when you you sort of travel up here and you have an element of, you think others are lesser. I don't think he has that. He's arrogant and happy about himself, and he's he's very more life. I don't think he's unfun to be around. So maybe that's what I'm able to see, and brief little online chatter of like, oh God, he's like so full of himself. But I think yes, 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 but not in a bad way. Anyways, then we learned stories of some of the medical issues that he went through. And I think it's like one of those wonderful things when you start to see like people really sometimes have a zest for life just based on some of the stuff they've been through. And I really feel like they're going to be a fit. Luke was a tough fit. He had many seasons. Who was another newbie? Chris Leone only had the one season. It's always been Carl and Kyle, and that, the other cast members, specifically for the men, they haven't really found anybody. But to me, I feel like in many ways, West and Jesse kind of can be the ones that the torch is passed to. That doesn't mean by any means that I think Kyle should be off the show. I like Kyle. I don't buy the notion that like Kyle, he's over 40 years old or just 40 years old and now he's got to grow up. You can still have fun. You can still have fun at 41, 44, 45, 46, and so on. But, there will be a moment that maybe Kyle and his business with the brand that he works with, Loverboy, or, created with Amanda, there could be a moment where they want to grow a spinoff or their business in general. But yeah, the new guys really seem to work. I wish Chris Leone could be back in the house. I wish he was dating Danielle, and who was the one from Southern Hospitality? Joe Bradley. That didn't work. Yeah, Chris Leone should step right in there and, have fun with Danielle. Okay, question. I know we're supposed to just talk about the newbies on this episode, but what? I've done another episode where I felt that Danielle should get her own dating show on Bravo. That's just what I think. But even though we're talking about Summer House newbies right now, and we will do a recap on all these shows mix me up. Summer House, Martha's Vineyard on another episode. My question also, though, is why is Danielle sort of difficult to date? Not saying that all the errors fall on her, but she seems so perfect in every way. And, she's also like a little erratic. But isn't that don't we like the fun and the excitement? If I was running things, I would do a spinoff series with Danielle called What Is It About Danielle? And it would be the Danielle dating show. I don't know. Anyways, what are your thoughts on the Summer House Newbies season 8? Were you watching since season 1? Were you excited that Paige and Sierra came in when they came in and those newbies became such an important impact to the show? Do you think West and Jesse can have that same success? I kind of do. It is early on season 8. This is the beginning of the season. So obviously whatever happens now may change. But early on, I will say that I really, really, really think that these Summer House new cast members in West and Jesse Solomon are actually a really, really good fit. But that's just my opinion. You're welcome to have your own. Anyways, we'll talk on the next one.
Hey, Ronnie Jr.